Welcome to the Mostro Podcast, where creativity meets innovation. Today, I'm thrilled to bring you Anne Horel. The Paris-based digital artist has redefined what it means to play with screens. Known for eccentric GIFs, which have gotten over 2.1 billion views, Anne's work is a blend of innovation and wild imagination, much like her acclaimed short film, Dip's Fake. From her teachers once saying, "There's no market for this," to now collaborating with global brands and creating stunning AR art, Anne proves that being a screen enthusiast pays off. Settle in. This chat is as curious as Anne's cat. Let's get started. Anne, it is such a pleasure to have you on today. And you are the first visual artist that is here on the Mostro Podcast. I have a description at the beginning, at the intro of this episode, but to say that you're just a visual artist is a massive understatement. And I could describe everything, but I would rather that you please start with a description of who you are. Tell us about yourself a little bit.
I'm a curious human being, technology enthusiast, screen enthusiast. I've always been someone who is clearly attracted to screen from television when I was a kid, growing up in the 80s and 90s. From the beginning, the early internet era to today with the new creative technology. So I would say that I'm clearly screen enthusiast and a very creative person, I guess.
Okay, that is yes, that is a very modest description of yourself because I mean, for everyone who's listening to this podcast, please do, if you have not heard of Anne Horel, please do check her out. Your work is incredible, and you're at the cutting edge of a lot of what's going on online right now. I want to ask you about the projects that you've done, because I know we're talking here in preparation of an exhibit that you have coming on in Paris very shortly. But I want to talk about your professional experience because you've worked with large brands, you've done music videos, you've worked as an independent artist, all sorts of things. Could you talk about I mean, there's so many standout things you've done. For you, what are your favorite projects that you've done so far and why?
I would say that the last project that I just finished a few months ago might be my favorite, just because it's a short movie, let's say 80% made with AI. And it's the first time I'm working on this kind of format. So it's my first short movie. I've done like web series and stuff like that before, but it was like 10 years ago. I was definitely not as mature, like quote unquote, as I am today. Like, 10 years is a long time. And between 30 and 40, you just learn a lot. And this project has been co-written with a friend of mine. We've never collaborated before, and it was the first time we collaborated on this short movie. And the collaboration was very fluid, very cool. It's I like this project a lot because it's something that I've not done just by myself, which is something I'm pretty much used to do. Like I work pretty much by myself. And that's something I don't want to do as much as I used to do before. I want to change that. Um, and I just love this movie. I think it's a cute piece. It's weird. It's definitely trying new technologies. I'm obsessed with the music. It's very much my cat is like scratching everywhere.
That's okay. I have a
It's
couple of
like either scratching the window or scratching the couch, and I'm like, I don't know what to do right now.
can never you yeah, you can never predict what the cat will do
No,
during
he's been
podcast.
sleeping all day, but now he's just like all over the place. whatever. So yeah, I would say this project is my favorite I've done so far. I've done a lot of different things, obviously, because I've been in the field for a long time. But this one is I don't know, it just like hits differently.
Is this Dip's fake? Is that
Yeah, that's
you're talking about?
fake.
Okay, yeah, I watched that film. It is so it's sweet and completely nuts too. It's like it's completely it has this coherence within it, but it's completely crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
it's fantastic. So congratulations on that project. I know it's up for it's in a contest also. And I know it's
yeah.
does Michel Gondry appear in that? No, it's Michel Gondry doesn't appear in that one. It appear does he appear in that one or am I mixing it up with another film that you
Oh,
have?
you're mixing it up. I'm not, I've never worked with him. Maybe
Oh,
one day, I don't know. Um, but we are in the same production company. Maybe that's why you're making the
I
confusion.
think so. I thought I just saw a short shot of him in another video of yours. I've been watching a lot of your work. So anyway, but
Oh,
it's fake is so cute. It's cute, it's cool, it's funny. And so I
thank
wish you
you.
all the best with that. Yeah, that's great. So you're saying that you have been in the space for a while in digital visual art. What can you tell me about like what have you seen um, you're at the forefront of stuff, you're pushing the boundaries. Why is that? Like what makes you the person that I mean, I know you said you're a curious individual. Why and that you're screen addict, I guess you could say, or you're attached to the screen.
Yeah.
What have you seen in the space? Like you've been doing this for a while. What's your observations as someone that's been working in digital art or visual art? What could you say about what you've seen so far in your journey?
Um, that it's evolving extremely fast, technology-wise, and that institutions, especially in France, are in a very different pace. And that's something I kind of regret, but I feel like it's been like that forever. I feel like the artists, the creative people are the visionary. They are always a little bit upfront, and then the institutions and the crowd kind of catch up when everything is kind of like validated. Now my cat is meowing. He wants to be part of it. Um, so I would say that my main observation is that there is like a different pace, which is inherent to the nature of uh, who an artist is and what's its role in society. I feel like the artist, the creative person, is the one who is anticipating a little bit and being like catching energies and then just like giving it out to the world like from a vision, and it's been like that forever. Yeah, you're meowing. Hello.
So, do you find that that is in your career, has that been something where you've been misunderstood or it hasn't there hasn't been a fit for you and then all of a sudden you find that everyone's all of a sudden calling you because they've found that oh you're just on the cusp of like how is this sort of what you're talking about like something it's like it's a mismatch in a way right how is that played into your story.
It's definitely has been, it's been always been there, and the first story that I like, I feel like a very old woman saying the same story over and over again, but that's I think that's a good example. When I was in art school, I started making GIFs, and like every month or so you had like a presentation in front of all of the teachers and your fellow uh, people in your class, and I was showing these gifts, and my teachers were like, there is no market for this, you're never going to make any money with this. They weren't wrong, until some point, until that, and then the story, it's another part of the story, but um, they basically told me that it was an art, because it didn't have any market. But I kept going, and this was like almost 15 years ago. And in 2020, 2021, the NFT scene started for digital arts. It wasn't made for digital art, but it definitely took the place of uh, what institutions have not done for digital art for many, many years. I feel like digital art is having kind of the same story that photography had, and we are still repeating the same pattern and the same story. And um, I think that's the big thing. It's a good example because it has followed me my entire career and still the case of today, even though again, like I've grown, and now my digital PCs also have a physical form. I'm experimenting with like 3D printing and then objects and prints on different various like canvas. But the institutions are still very, very late and very not well educated about the scene that is prolific is like an understatement. And it's like the core nature of the digital scene to be prolific because the internet just is. And I feel like they're completely missing out on the new generation of artists just because of I don't know, because of some narrow-minded way of seeing things. I don't know. There is something that just like doesn't click in their brain. Some people are clicking, and that's the people I'm interacting with. And this is it has been like very recent, I would say. But still, this case and the way that you need to explain, like I found myself also like a few years ago to explain to a curator that digital artists are not influencers, they are proper artists. And he couldn't like make the difference between what is a digital artist and what is an influencer. And I was like, okay, there is like a whole, like, let's do like a class and explain the different terms and how does it work, because apparently he had no idea. And yeah, that's the big subject to me.
Okay. And I just want to actually touch on something that you said, if you could clarify, because we're a lot of musicians listening to you as well. When you're talking about the same things happening in digital art that happen in photography, what are you referring to?
I'm referring to the fact that when photography, it happened with photography, it happened with oil painting, it happened when typewriters appeared in the world of writing, prints in general. Whenever there is like a big industrial revolution with like a tool that is completely changing a field, like this for this example in particular, art, people are freaking out because they're like, oh my God, photography is gonna kill the painting. How are you going to sell this? There is no market for this. When oil painting appeared, this is the end of the painter. When print, like the typewriter happened, people were like, people would never write again. And we could say the same thing with music, like when platforms, like digital platforms appeared, it would be like the death of musicians. Uh, at every revolution, there is like uh, a part of the past that you need to let go and then move on to and find ways to fit in the new the next thing, because the world is not going to wait for you. So you need to just adjust your thoughts and your way of thinking, your way of practicing, not because you don't have, I mean, everybody has the choice. I know people who are very analog and it's completely fine and it's their charm, you know. That's not what I am, obviously. But it doesn't make any difference. I mean, as long as you're happy creating, it's I think it's the most important. But yeah, I was referring to this.
Okay. Cool. Let me ask you, because you are at the forefront of Gen AI, of visual art and digital technology, pushing that forward. Since you're at the edge of it, what do you see? What do you see around you? You mentioned that, okay, yes, institutions are slow, and you're working with folks that are on the same wavelength, or in the same, or on that same path as you. What are you seeing in the landscape? What do you see? What would you predict going forwards? What are the what can you see that's sort of exciting you or catching your interest, or that you're saying, oh, it's kind of, this is going in a bad direction? What can you say from someone who's at the edge of all of that?
Um,
To add here.
to be honest, like it's very complicated to predict anything. I'm used to say that um, like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined what I'm doing right now. 4 years ago, I started making augmented reality, and like even like a few weeks before, I was like, I will never be able to do that, you know. So there are two things in what I'm saying here. There's the part of you that is in your comfort zone, where you have your practice, you're good at it, and then you can keep going on in this and never change anything, and don't learn never learn any new skills, which is completely fine. And the moment when you're jumping into a new a skill, it takes time to learn. So obviously, you cannot imagine what you will be doing when you have like a maîtrise, like a skill at doing something. But with these technologies, it's going at another level because they are going very fast. It's a race against the clock for the big tech. They are all competing against each other. It's definitely the old Cold War thing again and over and over and over and over again. And then when the Chinese are like, "Hey, we have this thing," the Americans are like, "Hey, we have this thing," and then it's just like us going back and forth between their ego war or whatever it is. Um, I think, yeah, it's impossible for me to predict anything. The only thing that scares me is how people can get very um, emotionally attached to the cyber dogs, the robot dogs. I've seen that at a festival this weekend, and people were like, "Oh, they're so cute! They are doing tricks and everything." I'm like, "This is not funny. It's weapons. Like, it is not funny. That's very scary." So that's the only thing, and I mean, that's an episode of Black Mirror. Like, we don't need to imagine that far. That's the only thing that scares me. That the technology, people get used to the technology and be like, "Oh, this is cool. It's part of my everyday life," and then they use it as a weapon to just like kill you.
Right. Yeah. That is definitely a concern. You could
It
say
is.
for sure. Okay. Well, um, let's let me ask you about the show that's coming up. How about that? So you have a show coming up at the Julie Correda Gallery, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Do you want to talk about that? What is the theme? Please let us know what we're going to discover.
So the name of the show is Altera. It's an exhibition I co-curated with the artist Ines Alpha. There is Ines Bora, which is a 3D 3D artist, but that's an understatement as well. Like they're doing also like sculpture, installation, music, performance. It's a very very polymorphic artist. And Tiggy Torn, also very polymorphic. They're actually working. It's like a three people working on the project. I would describe it as digital drag, and we are all working on avatars. If I could like sum things up like very briefly, and how our digital avatars can be shown in physical space. So there is a work around digital and sculpture.
Amazing. That sounds so cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to being at the show and seeing all the great work that you and your fellow artists are doing. That's fantastic. Okay,
It
well,
looks amazing. Like I can tell, like I've seen some glimpse, and I'm like I have the pressure because what they've done is incredible, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I need to do something great. Because I think it's gonna be a great show. I'm
oh,
very
it's so exciting. Excellent. Okay, so now besides this fantastic show that we have to look forward to, do you want to talk about anything you've got going on for the new year? Is there anything you want to share?
sure. I have a few projects coming up. I have one that is actually happening right now in Berlin. It's an immersive exhibition around Bosch, the artist Bosch, and I have some work shown there. It's until I think it's until March or May or something. It starts with an A M, so it's either March or May. I never remember. So this is happening in Berlin right now. I have a show at Le Cube, which is digital art space in next to Paris, in Paris suburb. And I have a show at these are collective shows. I have a collective show as well as at Max Ernst Museum in Germany. So I'm working on these projects right now. So it's three exhibitions on the work. But I also like I need time to digest this short movie that I've sent to many festivals, and I want to see how it will be received. But I have I want to make other short movies or a series or maybe a long format. I don't know yet, but I want to keep going, exploring telling stories with AI. It was so great to do. I want to do it. I want to do that more, and I want to work with Thomas again, and maybe with other writers. But the chemistry was really good with Thomas, so I would like to keep going with him. I haven't said anything to him. Maybe he will say no, but I think it went well.
So in other words, collaboration is in the future for you, more
Yeah,
narrative storytelling, collaboration using AI as well. That's very exciting. Awesome.
yeah.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Anne. You know what? Maybe I'll ask you one last question. Do you have any advice for emerging artists going out there that are entering the realm that you work in?
Um, I would say, and that's something I always say to students whenever I go in schools and stuff. Have fun and don't compare yourself to anyone. Get inspired. Don't feel under anyone. Inspiration is great, and aspiration is great. And yeah, play, keep playing, just keep playing and keep having fun. And I think the most important thing when you're a creative person is to have pleasure when you make something. It has to make you feel, to give you some kind of pleasure or relief. There is like something that needs to get out, obviously. So yeah, I would say that.
Hmm. I can relate to that also as a as a writer myself, catharsis and getting that expression out. That's great. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm gonna add in one last question because we are in music at Mostro. What do you have any comments about NFTs and music and AI? Do you have any kind of comments about that combination?
About NFT and music, I have no commentary to do about that because that's not something I've ever thought of. But music and AI, I think, so the music in my short movie was entirely made with AI. I come from music. I used to do music in my early years. I wasn't composing, but I was writing and performing. So I think it's same thing with visual arts. It's just a new tool, a new toy you can play with. You have no obligation to play with. If you know, it's the same thing when you play video games. If you'd rather play Mario Kart, just play Mario Kart. And if you don't like Call of Duty, don't play Call of Duty. You know, like it's not because the toy is out there or the game is out there that you have to use it or have to play with it. Some people will find their happy ground there, and that's wonderful. And I think there is a space for everyone. I think it's important to, yeah, um, don't feel obligated to use anything, but stay curious.
That's great advice from someone who is so fully immersed in Gen AI to say, you don't have to use it.
No, you don't.
If you like it. Thank you so much for that. And that's very calming coming from someone who's so fully into it that no, you don't also have to use it. You don't have to use it at all. It's okay.
It's
Oh,
okay.
thanks, Anne. Fantastic.
You're welcome.
What a great talk with Anne Horel. She's a creative force who's turned the art world on its head, and her insights are as bold as her art. Check out Anne's new exhibition, Alterna, at the Julie Coretta Gallery in Paris until January 11th, 2025. You can keep track of Anne's projects at her website, annehorel.com. Thanks for tuning into the Mostro Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, tune in and turn up for innovation.